following is the procedure for public comment and participation. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on agenda items. Next, citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a sign-up card identifying the items of interest. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes to speak on the entire consent agenda. And finally, all sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table.
The purpose of the City Council meeting is to discuss city business, and proper decorum must be displayed by all in attendance. Public input and participation is encouraged. However, all persons in attendance shall comply with the rules for meeting procedures and shall refrain from any action that disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meeting or hinders a council from performing its duties. No person shall interfere with the rights of others to speak, hear, see, or attend the proceedings, make threats of violence, disrupt the proceedings with shouting, fail to confine remarks to the agenda item under consideration, nor continue to speak after the allotted speaking time has expired, as these actions shall be considered disruptive and disorderly. The mayor shall caution any person who violates these provisions and disrupts the orderly proceedings of the council meetings, and they shall be directed to comply. Any person who fails to comply, as cautioned, shall be ruled out of order, shall forfeit the remainder of their speaking time on the agenda item under consideration, and will be requested to return to their seat. Persons who fail to comply as directed shall be subject to removal from the council chambers by law enforcement or such other actions as may be reasonably necessary to enforce these regulations. Notwithstanding, the mayor may order the immediate removal of any person from the chambers who possesses a threat to property or life safety. Nothing in this section shall be construed to limit or restrict a person's right created by the Constitution, law, ordinance, or regulation.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Titusville City Council regular meeting, April 14th, 2026 at 6:30. Call this meeting to order. City Attorney, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Awesome. We're supposed to have an invocation by Pastor Gerald Smith. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it. At this time, I ask you to take a moment of silence. Please bow your heads. Thank you very much. Please stand for the pledge. Thank you very much. Council, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes of March 10th and March 24th, 2026 of the council.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, second by Vice Mayor Cole. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. The first item I have is a housekeeping item. 9A, the Live Local Ordinance, has been withdrawn by staff. There are no special recognitions and presentations. And under boards and commissions, 6A is the Community Redevelopment Agency, and the action is to accept the resignation of the CRA member Greg Aker with an unexpired term that will expire on September 30th, 2028. The resignation is effective April 15th. There are currently no candidates on file.
Thank you, City Manager. City Clerk, are there any cards?
One card at Stan Johnston.
My name is Stan Johnston. I don't see if Mr. Akers here. But anyhow, I'm against him leaving this position because he should take time and apologize for what he did. It's a horrible thing that he did. I've heard so much praise about him. So what I have here is, here I have my Bible, and I'm going to tell the truth. I promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. What has happened here in the city of Titusville is corruption and fraud in the CRA agency where Mr. Aker has been working. This is my poster.
Mr. Johnson, you're cautioned for not being on topic.
I'm talking about Mr. Aker. Mr. Aker, along with a number of council members, have allowed the spraying of people with piss and poop. They've allowed it for months. And Councilwoman Nelson said she justified it by some kind of conversation with somebody at the EP.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you're out of order. Please have a seat.
Up against it.
Thank you. Any other cards, City Clerk? All right. Member Nelson?
Move to accept the resignation of Greg Aker with regrets. He has served a long time.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Vice Mayor Call. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. City Manager?
Yes, sir. The next item is 6B, the Titusville Environmental Commission. And the action is to act on the Titusville Environmental Commission regular member Michael Myjack's request for a 4-month leave of absence from the Titusville Environmental Commission meetings for the months of July through October 2026.
City Clerk, are there any cards?
Yes, one card, Stan Johnston.
My name is Stan Johnston, and I'd like the video to show my front because right here I have a badge of dishonor showing the election fraud that we had. So when we're talking about this matter, golly, what's going on with now? I wrote it down here. But anyhow, it's, okay, I'm going to have to sit down this time because I've lost my notes.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Any discussion from council? Member Nelson?
Move to approve the leave of absence for TEC member Michael Myjack.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. City Manager?
Yes, sir. The next item is 6C, the North Brevard Commission on Parks and Recreation. And the North Brevard Commission on Parks and Recreation semi-annual report is included in the agenda package, and no action is requested.
Any discussion from this board? Seeing none. All right, now we're at petitions and requests from the public, non-agenda items.
Dr. Kathleen Ulrich, Titusville resident. Before I begin, I really want to start by expressing my appreciation to Tom Abadi for promptly answering several questions I had regarding the Royal Oak Small Area Study and the mediation process. And I appreciate his assurance the community will be involved in his commitment to keeping the residents informed. That was very good. Now, what I want to address right now is the lawsuit that's filed by Toulon seeking a declaratory judgment. There is a clear and unavoidable irony here. Toulon claims the city's decision violates the comprehensive plan, but under that same plan, they had to request an amendment to move forward. A proposal cannot be in compliance with a plan it must first change. Furthermore, Toulon requires heavily on land density as a categorical measure. By counting lakes as land area, they artificially lower the reported density. And in reality, a closer look shows that both the proposed density and the housing type do not align with the existing community. And while I'm not an attorney, I have done extensive research, and this appears to be a weak claim. one that should be well within the capability of the city attorney to defend. The city council made a unanimous decision to deny this amendment. That decision is legislative and should be defended, not negotiated away. There are also serious unresolved concerns, including proposed use of community development district to manage stormwater, the lack of an independent stormwater assessment that accounts for site gradient, that was sort of left off, and the absence of an independent fiscal analysis. With these critical questions unanswered, this proposal presents real risk to the city. For that reason, the city should not enter into any settlement with Toulon. If discussions occur, mediation is the appropriate venue, but residents adjacent to the golf course are directly affected and must have a role. Mediation must not occur behind closed doors through private conversations. It must be conducted transparently with opportunities for public visibility. There is no rule prohibiting citizen attendance, and there should be no effort to exclude them. Given the concerns raised in the recent internal audit, the city cannot afford even the appearance of backroom decision-making. Public trust depends upon openness. The role of the city attorney is to manage legal risk, but the role of this council is to represent the people. It is the citizens who fund this government, and it is their interest that must come first. Do not negotiate away a unanimous decision. Defend it fully, publicly, and without compromise. The people you represent are watching, and they expect nothing else. And I would like to submit a copy of this statement for inclusion in the public record, and the main reason I want to do that is the minutes don't actually usually reflect what people have said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 3 lawsuits is big. Our city's definitely a mess. And I'm going to keep this really, really straightforward. This is about doing right by the people who work for this city and for the people who pay into it. Right now, we have a lot of things that are not lining up. We've got a bunch of people who show up to work every day and do their very, very best for this city, but many are struggling to still get ahead. At the same time, we know that there's lots of money in this system. It gets spent all the time. The question is it being managed right? And I see that the city rolled out the fraud, waste, and abuse hotline, and that's a really good first step, but the tool means absolutely nothing if the people don't trust it. Right now, it appears that those reports go through basically the same chain of command that has been, and I think people are really uncomfortable with that. It definitely raises a lot of questions. So when that happens, people stop speaking up, and they're really reluctant to. When misconduct happens inside of offices, when people say inappropriate things to people behind closed doors, they're really afraid to come forward. So on top of everything else that has happened with the theft, we know that internal audits have suggested forensic audits. The only acceptable answer at this point is for full forensic audit in every single department. This is how you restore public trust. I know that it's going to cost for these things to happen, but the cost if we don't is that you never gain that trust back. So really think about that. Really think about what the people in this city want, because no one seems to trust what's happening with this board and behind closed doors. We need a lot more sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For the record, my name is Dwight Severs, a resident of Titusville.
City Clerk.
Pardon?
Sorry, Dwight. I'm just notifying the city clerk.
Okay. I rarely follow social media. However, one item recently caught my eye, which was a statement from the Titusville Police Department requesting that a council member pay $1,896.22 for city records. I would be here supporting you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, if you received a similar statement. Probably more time is spent on how to charge for the production of records and paying the bill, preparing the bill, than simply producing the records. Never in my 40 years as experience as city attorney and city attorney emeritus and serving with 7 different city managers, probably 7 different police chiefs, have I ever heard of a city administration charging a council member money for simply them trying to do their job. Think about it, please. I'm sure I don't know the whole story and how the request for information could possibly lead to this, but obviously it did. Mayor and council, if you have a right to make inquiry in accordance with the charter and do your job as council members. Mayor, if you ask for records concerning HR health insurance quotes, past contracts and information, would you be charged? Vice Mayor, if you ask for similar information during contracts, a bid, would you be charged? This should not be a personal item of any council member. Employing tactics to delay giving you your information that you need to do your job is wrong. It's as simple as that. City manager, city attorney, frankly, it's time for you to step up the plate and straighten this out. It is wrong, simply wrong. As I understand, council is going to have a retreat in the sunshine. I would hope you would discuss this and straighten this type of thing out, because you should be able to do your job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. Member Nelson.
I was just going to point out that I did ask for some records about a week, 2 weeks ago, and the cost was, it was relatively small amount of records. It was 3 pages, and it was $5. It was also something that I could get on the clerk's website, so I went to the clerk's website. But we do, I think, need to decide how to handle public records when council members are looking for public records. And I understand that we don't want to stop people from getting, 20 pages, 30 pages of public records. I will say, when I first started out, I was at a conference and with Sarah, and there was a city where the guy ran up thousands of dollars in public records fees because of the redactions. So we need to have a balance there, and I'd like to see that. So maybe city manager at some point can work on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And just to point out, Member Nelson, I believe we already do have kind of a procedure in place where if you're requesting more than 2 hours worth of staff time, you need to get a council support to do that. So if you're looking at that.
That's for like meetings and stuff, but I was thinking for public records, maybe a time period or a set amount of work, and after that, we get charged.
That particular rule doesn't specify meetings or
Yeah.
records. It's just kind of open and vague. Member Moscoso?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it would be good for us to discuss. I will say on this incident, I was looking for a simple signature, 1 page, and could not get that information of who signed the contract. 1 page, 1 signature. It was not given that information. Therefore, I had to proceed to a public records request, which then turned out to be $1,800, which obviously I did not pay. And that's kind of how we got here. So it wasn't the intention to just ask for records willy-nilly. It was to get a specific piece of information that I wasn't given.
I don't know what the request looked like. Tom, can you give us some information on what specifically the request was?
I don't recall the particulars, but I believe it was regarding an ongoing audit in the police department and procurement, and it involved redacting a number of records and also a lot of staff time, but I don't recall the particulars. I just know it was processed as a public records request, and that's how the invoice was developed.
All right, thank you very much. All right, back to petitions and requests. City Attorney, do you have?
Yes, may I just inquire, Councilmember Moscoso? This is the first time I'm hearing of the one-page request. And so I don't understand how a one-page request escalated to having to do a voluminous, and I don't know how voluminous it was, public records request, but just so you know, in the future, if you're requesting a one-page signature contract, by all means, you can reach out to the city attorney's office in order for us to forego any mishaps.
Thank you.
All right, back to petitions and requests. Mr. Johnson, I believe you are angling for the floor.
My name is Stan Johnson. First of all, I'm going to apologize to people here and the council is that I misplaced my comments about Mr. Myjack, and of course, I certainly approve of him having a leave of absence. But I'm here to again talk about some dishonesty and corruption in the city of Titusville. And I have one hand on my Bible, and the other hand I say I testify, I promise to tell the whole truth and the whole truth. So help me God. In this case is that I've sent an email to Mr. Connors, and I copied it to a number of people, sent it out at 5 o'clock today, and I'll read part of it to you. It says, "Do you remember, Mayor, at the meeting that you spoke at Ashkelon, where I handed you a small piece of paper to answer some simple questions when we had your question and answer session? And you threatened me. Yes, you threatened me. You threatened me. You threatened to crush me if I asked these questions. Okay? So when I raised my hand to ask questions, what did you do? You completely ignored me, ignored my hand. So this is what I have. That was a threat to me. That was you. That was a threat. So it's understandable that you're doing some horrible things in the city and some illegal things. For example, here's what I'm talking about is I wrote in the same letter to you, anybody can get a copy of it, against God's law and man's law that sewage aerosol is harmful and toxic to the health of the public. You and your buddies have convinced or tricked the public that it is okay to have city's double standard in violation of law, my profession of engineering, the golden rule, and other. You suppress freedom to complain about this problem and hazard to the health. Today, Titusville is what? Titusville is the only city in the world on this planet that since December 2020, city has approved the spraying of women, children, vehicles, and homes with sewage, piss and poop. That's what you've done. Shame on you. Shame on all four of you here that have promoted this and just ignore it. It's not a minor issue. And what I do is that's what one of the things I would like CRA to have looked into when I was removed from this chamber. Now, I also want to see, thank you for having this on here, but this is election fraud by Mayor Connors. Dirtiest I've ever seen in the city of Titusville. Dirtiest I've ever seen. This is the badge I'll be continuing wearing because you're continuing to be corrupt. You removed me from the council meeting. Of course, you say I was somehow not on topic and so forth. But let me show again. This is what we have, people. Sewage spray continuing since December 2020, many months of sewage spray.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Member Nelson?
Mr. Cook, are we spraying people with sewer?
No, ma'am.
And I believe in 2020, at one point, DEP said to leave the fountains on. Do we even have fountains now?
At Sandpoint, I don't believe they've ever been functional again. I think the only fountain we still operate is at Senior Center.
Okay. Since, do you remember when?
The fountains or?
Yeah, the fountains.
I don't ever remember them being back on after they were shut down during the spill at Sandpoint.
Okay, so since 2021, they haven't been on.
Not that I recall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Nelson.
So, I wanted to share about an amazing opportunity that this community was provided on Saturday, April 11th. Myself, Carrie Lembowski from TFD, and Rachel Williams from Sandy Toes Pediatric PT, along with Beta as our nonprofit, hosted the North Brevard Baby Expo on Saturday, April 11th. It was formerly known as North Brevard's Greatest Baby Shower. This year, it was rebranded to better reflect the intent of the event. We also moved to a larger venue, Indian River City Church, which provided more education opportunities. The event was extremely successful. We had more than 30 vendors, including our presenting sponsor, Christina Kaido, with Women's Health Center. Our vendors provided North Brevard with resources from WIC, Park and Rec, Parish, and multiple other community partners. We had breakout sessions from 13 guests, including swim safety, chiropractic care, pelvic floor health, and more. We also were able to provide the Scouts a fundraising opportunity, providing hot dogs, chips, and soda for sale at the event. This event has provided our North Brevard families with countless resources, many community connections, and an opportunity to see all that North Brevard has to offer growing families. We're already talking about next year and how that we can continue to give back to North Brevard, make it even bigger in better ways. We're looking forward to what next year brings for the North Brevard Baby Expo.
Thank you. I heard it was a great event. When I was talking with Carrie about it, I thought she said Indian River Preserve, so I kind of got confused and went to the wrong place, but I was at it last year and it was an amazing event. We're still at petitions and requests from the public.
Melinda Villan, Historic Indian River City. I have been attempting to attain a formal determination as to why commercial uses, including a parking lot, are being allowed within the core residential zone, and why a non-conforming lot is being used for business purposes instead of a permitted single-family residential use. As many of those issues are tied to the quasi-judicial items on tonight's agenda, I will be addressing the inconsistencies in how zoning is being applied within the same neighborhood during my comments on those items. I am entering into the public record 2 pages from the files that the city sent me. One shows a parking lot in the core residential zone, and the other shows that a lot on Acorn with commercial uses is under the required square footage for the zoning. At this time, I am also publicly requesting a formal consistency review. Additionally, if it is the city's position that Acorn Drive is part of the commercial corridor and not a mostly residential local street, then the comprehensive plan, neighborhood plan, and official zoning maps should be publicly amended to reflect that position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, not seeing anybody else for petitions or requests. City manager. Oh, I didn't see him sit up.
Good evening, members of the municipality and attendees. My name is Ryan Laszlo. I've been living in Titusville since January 2025 after my honorable discharge from the military, and I love it here. The communities are great, people are fine, the Rockets are awesome. We love to all make an event out of it. But sadly, there's been something that has brought to my attention and that I know has had public outcry. People have been very distrustful to municipalities now because of it, and they want transparency. It's the fraud case, right? That's really what I'm coming here to discuss with and really put a magnifying glass on it. As Fox 35 Orlando has seen it to report on this and make it part of their news headlines, over 35 vehicles were unattended for on these inventory sheets, what they reported, and also over $1 million of fraud had been reported. Considering if these two are separate from one another entities, both are totaling about $2.25 to $2.5 million, depending for upkeep and other expenses needed. This money could have gone to other things in the town, in the community. Could have gone to infrastructure, schools, environmental projects, the rejuvenation of downtown Titusville, and the expansion of downtown Titusville, but it didn't. It didn't. So far, only one arrest has been made to an individual that had a paper trail leading directly to the home. Although this is good to hear that individuals are being held accountable for their actions, it's just not enough. The internal auditor has voiced concerns for the necessary funding of forensic audit to see in the sector for who should be held accountable. As an accounting student, I have understood that in situations like this, time is of the essence. For every day there is not an investigation, it is a day that records can be unrevealed, altered, and refiled, also known as cooking the books, but for most commonly called fraud. From my understanding, there has been no plans to fulfill this request. Furthermore, if there is waste in just this division alone, what's to say that other ones such as police, fire, EMS, mayor, mayoral boards, and other individuals with power have not tailored the system so that this tax dollars go into their own pockets to fund their own cars, their own luxury, their own food, their own necessities, and lawnmowers? As we have all heard from an exterminator, if you find one roach, there is more likely hiding in the walls. What do you guys plan to fix this? What's the plan? Are we gonna hold people accountable? Are we gonna be able to say and do the right thing? Are we gonna be able to look at each other and just look to your right and left and say, maybe this person isn't doing what's right and not accurately keeping track of funds as his responsibility and a deed and just a right thing to do? If police can tell us, the more honest you are, the more honest with us you are, the better it will be. I believe those responsible should heed this warning and do what is right, as those who can admit fault, guilt, and show humility for these actions and take punishment for what is right. Will you, the board, do the right thing?
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for petitions and requests? Seeing none, city manager.
Yes, sir. Moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items which council wishes to pull from the agenda?
Member Moscoso?
Yes, I would like to pull, I think it's 8B.
8B? Yes, ma'am.
Any other items? All right, so now we're on A, C, D, E, F, and G.
So
City manager?
I'll read those for the record. 8A, the water allocation permit for Astro House Luxury Apartment. 8C, resolution number 8-2026, commending outstanding students. 8D, travel request for Historic Preservation Board member Kirk Davis to attend the 2026 Preserve Florida Conference in St. Petersburg, Florida on May 13th through 15th. 8E, the Area 3 Wellfield Generator Replacement. 8F, Amendment 4 for the State Revolving Fund Agreement. And 8G, the modular classroom for Isaac Campbell Park.
City clerk?
Yes, sir. We have Stan Johnston.
Is this about 8B or the other ones?
It's all the other ones but
All the other
B.
ones. Pardon?
It's all the other ones except for B.
Okay, I have 8B also. All right, so
City clerk?
let me go about what's going on here. Is that 8E, I question whether this has to do anything with the solution of a huge problem that the city has had for many, many years. A secret problem. This secret problem is a big deal. It's costed people one person not $30,000 in about 2 days. And that problem is called 4-log virus. 4-log virus. It's been hidden from us for many years. And what it is I want to know whether this wellfield generator plant or any of these other issues have to do with the 4-log virus. So that's about all I wanted to go into that. So maybe I can have some questions from some responses from Mr. Cook on that. The modular classroom for Isaac Campbell Park, I'm certainly supporting that because I want it to go forward. I do not understand what's going on with the water allocation permit, so I can't speak any more about that. So this is the main thing I was concerned about, because this has been a problem for, I don't know whether it's been 20 years or what. In other words, when we have a boil water alert, what happens is that you can't possibly notify people, can't possibly notify. And when I talked to FDEP about this, they said other cities have had this problem, but they can't name any of them, any of the cities that have the problem like the city of Titusville has. So we've been in a situation where we couldn't possibly advise people that we're having a boil water alert, couldn't advise the city, and yet we had this. So this is like the dark ages in water treatment. So that's what we've had for many years, dark ages. So I'm hoping that Mr. Cook can respond to that. Maybe it has nothing to do with it. But this is $1 million. There's several $1 million solution to this. I believe it's above $4 million. And it's been a secret for years and years. Kevin, you want to comment on that?
The Area 3 well field was just replacement of a generator for our well field.
Okay, nothing to do with that.
Correct.
Thank you.
City Clerk?
Tony Schifalo.
I wanted to speak on B, which has been pulled, so I'll come back for that. I want to just speak then on D, which was going to be the praise part of my standing up here in my 3 minutes. For the Historic Preservation Board, Mr. Davis, to go to this conference is going to be such a positive thing for not only the Historic Preservation Board's project in the Joinerville area. It's up for an award, so he'll be there to accept it when we win. And part of the thrust of this conference is on abandoned and historic African-American cemeteries, of which we have 2, and Mr. Davis, of course, is the proprietor and caretaker of one. So this conference will really enhance the Historic Preservation Board's projects in that direction, and so the city will vastly benefit. So I just wanted to say thanks for passing that.
Thank you, Ms. Schifalo. City Clerk?
No more cards. The remaining cards are for item B.
All right, thank you very much. Council? Member Nelson?
Move to approve consent agenda items A, C, D, E, F, and G.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, second by Vice Mayor Cole. Any further discussion from this board? Seeing none, City Clerk?
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Connors?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cole?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. City Manager, I believe we're on item B now.
Yes, sir. Item 8B is resolution number 07-2026, repealing resolution number 24-1997, and establishing revised quasi-judicial procedures, and the city attorney will expound on that item.
Are there any questions? We spoke about this at the last meeting, and I made the additions, which I believe the issue was allowing the city attorney to determine the third-party intervener request, in addition to adding the definition of abutting, which I provided in the resolution. I don't know if there are any other issues why it was pulled.
Council, can I get to the cards before we ask questions? Just in case they trigger any questions that we might want to ask?
Mine's not a question, it's more clarification, because I do think there's some confusion on what this contains. So can I just speak to that?
Member Sokol?
I think there's confusion as to this is removing, I think, citizens' rights to speak. And from my understanding from going through it, this is actually adding more citizens' rights. So right now, we have 3 minutes per citizen that can speak. And then, as you guys know, sometimes you'll come together, give up your time to speak. This is allowing now, if you are abutting, you will have additional rights. So you can cross-examine, you can do other things that you haven't been able to do before. So I just want to be clear on that.
City Clerk?
The first card is Dan Johnston.
My name is Stan Johnston. I want to illuminate some things that are going on that, reading from the proposed changes and so forth. So whether they have it, but it speaks about an expert witness here. And as you notice is that today I was putting my hand on the Bible and swearing my testimony. And I've done this, and the thing is, it's surprising to me is what the city of Titusville does is they have sometimes a code of silence or closed door policy that they do not respond. We just saw this a few minutes ago at this meeting. In other words, Jolynn commented about something about FDEP and so forth like that, but she cannot get a professional engineer to dispute what I've said is the crime that the city has committed with spraying people with sewage.
Mr. Johnson, your caution, stay on the topic at hand.
Okay, so I'm talking about expert witnesses. I'm sorry, I just gave an example of what's going on here in the city of Titusville. And I'm completely disrespected, and it's not proper for you because I'm commissioned to protect the health and safety of the public. And so I think that everybody council members should read this, because I consider what you're doing is a violation of truth and fraud. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. City Clerk?
Melinda Bayer.
Good evening. My name's Melinda Bayer, and I'm a property owner in Royal Oak Division. And I'm here to talk about, or maybe clarify, hopefully, this Resolution B. It's my understanding, I heard the council elaborate, but I'm just not clear, and I'm hoping you can clarify for me. Is it looks like the property owners can only officially object to development if the land directly touches the project. Is that accurate?
No, that's not
Okay.
accurate.
I just didn't understand how that could be accurate, because being a property owner in that division would affect me, whatever land, wherever we go with this, because we're still going with that. I can't talk about that yet because it's a new business or whatever. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, so I'll be back when it's time for Royal Oak to defend their neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Yes, may I inquire, just for clarity, where is this confusion? What portion of the resolution is at issue? So maybe there is some issue that I don't know of. Which portion, if I can inquire that?
Oh, I have not read through your, the revised plan. I just know that we're changing something that had been established for 20 or 30 years, right?
Yes, change is always good, and especially if it's in accordance and updating with the law. And that was the point of the city attorney, in really updating and providing that it's in accordance with the law.
I would have an opportunity to object with this.
Yes, you will.
Thank you.
City Clerk?
Tony Schifolo.
Please, did you put a card in?
No, I guess, when you were asking her to clarify, I could do clarification too, so, but I'm not allowed to ask.
You can't really just ask questions. If you do have a question, please put a card in and we'll call your name. So, Tony Schifolo?
I'm not an attorney, however, as a citizen, when I read through, I did, the resolution, I too came away thinking, wow. In this era of a move to authoritarianism, it's disappointing to see our state stifling citizen input, and now so is our own city council. The new resolution weakens citizen input is the way I interpreted it, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't quote that section to you, but it was one of the larger paragraphs that said something about if you weren't abutting the property, we can still speak, but without standing, is what I read, unless you are abutting the property of issue. I believe every issue concerning the comprehensive plan affects me, Ms. Stokel, as it changes the context in which I live in this city when you change the comprehensive plan, which often goes along with zoning, doesn't it? And if I'm not abutting that property, then I feel like I don't really, Vice Mayor Cole, have a standing. And I own an historic home here, and it's in a established neighborhood. I'm worried about infill, but I'm not worried about the empty property abutting my property because I own it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schifilo. City Clerk?
Kathleen O'Rourke.
As she's coming up, I just want to add, if somebody does have a particular paragraph, because I keep hearing where there's confusion, but please let us know because we might be able to adjust it, because I don't want there to be confusion. So I just want to say that.
And I would suggest, given that there's so much confusion here today, that before I even begin talking, I think maybe this is something we should put off and have everybody go back through it, because I have a lot of concerns and my read doesn't match what everybody else says. But I wanted to talk about other parts of it other than the abutting, and the resolution emphasizes fairness and due process, but the provisions raise some serious concerns about transparency and public participation. The resolution allows ex parte communications. I can't tell you exactly where it is. I'm sorry. I would have prepared that if I knew I had to. And private conversations between decision makers and outside parties, and states disclosure is not required, and that non-disclosure is not presumed prejudicial. This is deeply concerning. It means that discussions can occur outside of public hearings without disclosure, without consequence. That's not transparency. And it creates a system where some parties have greater access and influence than others. Secondly, the resolution defines parties as the applicant and city staff. Residents are not considered parties. Again, I might be reading this wrong, so this is partly questioning. To gain basic rights, such as presenting evidence or cross-examining witnesses, a resident must qualify as an affected person and file a notice in advance of the hearing. Most citizens don't know how to do this, and many who are impacted may not meet the narrow definition required. This effectively limits meaningful participation by the public. And finally, the structure of the hearing itself gives the applicant a clear advantage, presenting after staff and then receiving the final rebuttal after public comment. We've already experienced that. We know how that feels like from the citizen side of things. So taken together, these provisions create an uneven playing field. They don't strengthen public trust. They actually risk undermining it. I ask that this resolution be delayed and revised to ensure transparency, equal access, and meaningful participation for all residents. And I'll add clarity to everything, because it's clear that there isn't much clarity right now, and not just those with resources or knowledge to navigate procedural barriers. It's not about process, it's about fairness and confidence in how decisions are made. Okay.
Thank you. So just to clarify, ex parte communications as a person may not be precluded without disclosing, but Section 5 says members shall disclose. So we are required. So if you called me and told me your feelings about something, you would not have to tell here out. That's how I'm rated. But we, as the governing board, have to disclose any ex parte communication about said zoning or quasi-judicial hearings. So I hope.
Doesn't extend to the staff particularly. I mean, just because I had an experience where I asked a certain individual to respond to a procedural question I had, and I was never called back, and we did a public records request and just saw a note from the same person to Kim Rozenka saying, give me a call, I've got things to tell you. So there's some problems with other areas, not just the city council.
This policy is for the board. City Attorney?
Yes, just a briefly to add some comments. 2.6, which was cited, party or parties means applicant and city staff. That remains essentially the same from the 1997 resolution. Part of the intent of the city attorney's office to update this resolution is because it was with all due respect, a little bit outdated. In addition to, it was providing staff and other boards problems in reading and interpreting and applying the quasi-judicial rules. In fact, I agree with Councilmember Stokel. This broadens the public's ability to participate. It in no way thwarts public comments, which was always available and still is for quasi-judicial procedures. It expanded to where someone who has a direct impact to the abutting property is able to have party standing. Outside of that, prior to these changes, the public did not have third-party standing. In addition, ex parte communications is directly from the statute and case law. So this information and this resolution, I believe and stand firmly and confident that it passes legal sufficiency, and we've vetted it. Both two attorneys in our city attorney's office we've spent months vetting this resolution to make sure that the city's protected, in addition to expanding citizens' rights to speak.
Thank you very much, City Attorney, City Clerk.
Michael Myjack.
Good evening. I guess my problem with this one is, why doesn't a butter to an abutter have less rights than a butter? We all have the same comprehensive plan. I mean, I have to pay for the same school kids, 2.2 people per household or whatever it is. We have to pay the same for solid waste. We have to pay the same for police, fire, and rescue until we start overbuilding. And then we have to build more schools and more police, fire, and rescue. Well, my point is that an abutter to an abutter to an abutter has the same rights as an abutter. So if you're gonna give an abutter standing, I want standing too. This is my city too. You want to block off my road by building a subdivision in an area that's not connected to a road that's designed for it, causing one of our members to have to move. I mean, this is not the way we're supposed to be building. Amen. Right? We can do better. This is a step toward better. It's not better enough. We need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk.
Macy Mullen.
Hello, Macy Mullen. Yeah, I'll admit I didn't know exactly about all of the rules to this this topic. I just saw someone sent it to me like an hour before I got here, so I had to come because I live across the street from I live across US 1 from the proposed bleach plant. So I disagree that it should only be given to people who abut the property. We should expand it to everybody because I would love the ability to actually have more than 3 minutes to say why I don't want to live across the highway from a bleach plant. So it'd be awesome if you could expand it to everybody and not just abutting properties. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Earl Johnson.
Hold on, City Clerk. City Attorney.
Just for some clarity, I wish I had the authority to give everyone rights. Again, this has been vetted through what statute provides in addition to what the case law provides. And the case law provides someone who directly abuts an extra right to be able to speak because they're directly impacted. Again, this does not take away the rights that everyone here was afforded prior to the change of the 1997 resolution. And I don't know if there was any discussion or any talk of wanting more rights prior to the resolution being updated. But again, this changes in no way the resolution that has been in effect for the past 30 years. It just adds that someone who's next to the property may have an opportunity to be heard in a different light. It does not take away anyone's rights that you previously had prior to an hour ago. Thank you.
Ms. Rowe.
Earl Johnson. It seems that there is quite a few moving parts to this. And there are people that are under differing opinions on this. I'm going to give you one example on the abutting issue that I think holds some weight. In front of this council, maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, was a proposal to put a biohazard waste incineration plant off of 405. Well, the property owner owned all of the surrounding property. It backed up to I-95 on one side and 405 on the other. There were no abutting property owners to object. So there can be similar situations to that. That would not be a very good thing, obviously, if the only people that had standing are people that are abutting, because there were no one in this case. So I think using the abutting argument is flawed. I think there are definitely cases where, and as you heard a couple of other speakers, Mr. Myjack mentioned, this is borders on comprehensive plan considerations. And so things can happen in one area that dramatically affect traffic, schools, other concurrency issues, and lots of things. So changes in one place are not necessarily limited and siloed only to that one single place. They spread out. And so, of course, other people are affected. So I think at this point, I'm not saying that there's not any, I think there's probably some good things in this and what's here. But I think it needs a little closer scrutiny and review, at least by the public. I just think it merits a little bit closer look before we go pulling the trigger on something. This is a pretty big deal. I mean, because we're talking about basically standing, at least the way I read it, this affects standing more than it does public input. So I still have the right to say, get up and speak for or against the project, but I don't have standing. So if there turns out to be a legal issue, only the people that are abutting have standing. And my example was in that biohazard incineration facility, no one would have had standing to object to that because the guy owned property completely surrounding that area. So that's, I think, a flaw. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Elizabeth Baker,
She left.
the last card is Dwight Severs.
Dwight Severs, Titusville. In 1997, when I drafted the present quasi-judicial procedure resolution, it was drafted because of the case of Snyder and Jennings. And particularly, you'll see that in Resolution 24-1997. Most local governments at that time adopted the procedures by resolution. I'm amazed the resolution has not been updated over time. It's been 15 years since I had the role as city attorney. Certainly, I believe that the most appropriate way, considering the content of this resolution today, and perhaps should have been in 97, it should be adopted by ordinance. Certainly, lobbyists, consulting engineers, land use attorneys, developers, citizens should be given an opportunity after a full public hearing process. There's a lot of substantive rights that are in this particular document. I'll call it document. You can see from the handout in AI's version of this, which I think is correct legally, what should be in an ordinance and what should be in a resolution. And I think this should be clearly in an ordinance through the public hearing process. Certainly, if you look at our ordinances since 2011, former Community Development Director Peggy Busaka and your current have asked you on numerous occasions to make substantive and procedural restructuring of the land development regulations. Today in the land development regulations, there's a section 34 that is entitled, labeled Article 2, Legislative and Quasi-Judicial. There's procedures in that section of the ordinance, if you look at it, that overlap and arguably may conflict with some of these. This all should be placed in that ordinance as such. In addition, those regulations cover the procedure and process. They include such things as 34-12, burden of presentation, burden of persuasion, which this resolution addresses. You have 37-1 of the code that defines adjacent parcel, not abutting parcel, adjacent. I think you should follow your existing codes and regulations. Adjacent can count the parcel across the street. You have an extremely narrow standing to get involved in this proceeding. I have numerous recommendations, suggestions, but my first one is do it by ordinance the proper way.
Thank you, Mr. Severs. Appreciate it. Member Moscoso.
Thank you. I think obviously there's a lot to look into this. City Attorney, you did a great job. You did exactly what we asked you to do. So thank you. I think the reason I pulled this, or what I want to discuss, is the abutting, and I'm the one who was kind of pushing for the definition of abutting. And what I want to just, and I know we've said this multiple times, but if let's say we don't pass this, then there is no party intervener and nobody has the opportunity to speak. So this is actually a really good thing for our residents. That means that you do have additional time to speak if you're abutting or, as you suggested, adjacent. And so I think it comes down to that terminology and what the definition of that is. So I hope everyone understands the third-party intervener is an additional thing that we didn't have before. Everyone could always get up and give their 3 minutes and say, yes, I like this, or I don't like this. But you could not be a party intervener where you got to get additional time and have a presentation. So that is the additional part. What I would say is I do think, and this might not be popular, that there does need to be, like I was talking to Macy with the bleach plant, and I get that she lives across the street, and so maybe that's where the adjacent part comes in. I don't know, but I think we have to look at the other side of the coin, because you could be abutting and be against, let's say, against the project, but what happens if somebody across town that really has not much, let's look at Royal Oaks, for example. We have people who are adjacent or abutting to the property who want to give the presentation and who have applied to be a party intervener. And let's say there's a business owner who does cabinets and they live across town and they say, well, I want to be a party intervener because I actually want this project to come through. Now they come in and they get the same, presentation time and things like that. So I think we have to look at both sides, and I think that is why it's important that we have a definition. But I do have a question. Is it the state statute that says the word abutting? Is that where we got that from?
I believe it is a state statute. I don't have it readily, either the state statute or case law that had I think abutting came from the definition of affected persons, which in 2.2, it says affected person means a person, natural or corporate, who is the owner of the subject property or who owns the property abutting real property that is subject to the proposed change. I want to say it's statutory, which I can provide at a later date, or case law. But again, prior to this, no one had
absolutely
the rights to do that. In addition to the statute and case law restricts quasi-judicial. Unfortunately, quasi-judicial procedures are regulated, and it's a procedure that is not just open for everyone to come and present a case or to present. It's limited to the applicant. It's limited to the staff, the city's rebuttal. It's a it's a quasi judicial procedure, almost as if it's a court procedure. If it, it's quasi, semi a judicial procedure. If there's a case going on in court, not everyone has the right to go and be parties to an action in court. And so that is the concept for a quasi judicial proceedings. It's statutory and case law regulated. It's nothing that the city attorney's office has come up in wanting of her own. Trust me.
I would be in favor of just tabling this. It seems like there is a lot of confusion, and then additionally to the abutting, there seem to be some other questions too that I personally would like to look into. So I would like to table, but I'd like to hear other thoughts.
Member Nelson.
I'd sort of like to table it too. We have to have some kind of order because it is almost like a court hearing. It's like being in a courtroom where you have different parties. So you have to have some kind of order to it. On the other hand, I understand what you're saying when you say, what about you have a project and you have nobody abutting, but the person across the street is really going to be impacted? I'd like to have a couple of weeks to think about it, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Member Nelson. Member Stokel.
Yes, I'll go with that if that's the majority. We tabled it the last meeting because I wanted to get clarification on the abutting, and then I did meet with the city attorney and went through it. So that's kind of where I do feel comfortable. That being said, I'm open to if we wanted to change it from abutting to adjacent, that could be something, but I've gone over this a lot, so I feel very comfortable since we tabled it last meeting, but I will defer to the majority.
City Attorney, did you have something to say about
Yes.
adjacent?
Final word. I just caution council to understand this is a regulatory resolution. Most cities don't have resolutions and/or ordinances. There are some cities that have ordinances. I will say that our resolution is more in-depth than most cities. Again, I try to condense an 11-page document resolution that's been operating for 30-plus years to, I think, 6 or so pages, just because I know staff and boards were having issues in following the procedures. But I do caution council that it's not procedures, it's regulated by statute and by case law, and it's not something that we can just go ahead and vote on or motion on. So I just caution that I welcome revisiting the matter, not a problem.
Well, and to Mr. Seaver's point, this is a resolution where we're just establishing procedures. If updates or tweaks need to be made, they can be made relatively easily. And if we kick the can down the road, that's just delaying these enhanced rights for these abutting property owners down the road. I don't know what's coming up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. So, I think at a certain point, we got to make a decision on what we want these rules to be to comply not only with the state requirements, but also to make sure we give our residents every opportunity to be heard. Vice Mayor Cole.
Is there a problem changing just the terminology? It seems that the terminology adjacent and abutting are the things that are the biggest factors that are confusing people. Is that a problem with law if we interchange those terms?
Without looking at the statute, I believe, again, the affected person's definition was taken from the statute, and that's what indicated
So the
abutting.
affected person was adjacent?
Abutting.
Abutting, correct.
Abutting.
Yes. Now, again, I can look and see if there's anything that fleshes out adjacent and the meaning, and if that's, what that means.
It seems like
I don't know.
it seems like that's the sticking point that we have here. I don't know.
I sort of like the adversely affected party, but I'm concerned in a sense because with abutting is a clear definition. You're either abutting or you're not. Adversely affected party, I always hate it when you have things that can be the subject of 100 interpretations.
That's very subjective, terminology.
So that I'm sort of struggling with. You know, when you have a trial, you have your plaintiff, you have your defense. You may have somebody that, an intervening party, but here, I hate to see 100 intervening parties. So you have us, you have a developer and 100 people trying to present a case. And I'm trying to figure out, is there a way that we can make it manageable where things aren't getting lost? We're not getting lost, at least. And I'm not sure if I have an answer for it. And I don't know if our city attorney has an answer for it.
I believe I have stated repeatedly that our city attorney's office stands by the resolution that's been submitted as being vetted and legally sound. Again, in stating the, I believe you're reading from 163.315 that Mr. Severs provided.
Yeah.
That is a total different definition. It provides that an affected or adverse party may go to court if they have, and so anyone who has any objection to any decision made by the council on a comprehensive plan or development orders can go to court as an affected or adversely affected person. It's separate and apart, I believe, from the
So
quasi-judicial
basically what
proceeding.
we're saying is this resolution is going to govern how we conduct a hearing here.
Correct, in accordance with statute and case law, yes.
And 163.3215 is governing who can actually sue in court.
If, again, just looking at it cursory, Mr. Severs did provide it just moments ago, so that's just what in my cursory looks. Looking through it, I see it's distinguishable.
Okay, so there is a distinction.
But I'm happy if council is comfortable wanting to meet one-on-one to explain this. It's a legal matter that's being asked from the dais, and the public, I believe, had some misinterpretation of or not reading completely, respectfully, not even reading the document. So it's hard to defend something when I don't know what is at issue.
Okay.
Member Moscoso, oh, sorry.
I feel better.
Member Moscoso.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I would like to table it just so that we have, I don't see anybody chomping at the bit to get this through. And just so that we know that we've done our due diligence, because we have gotten some additional information and different thoughts. I would say, and this could be something that we discuss, when there is a rezone or a CUP, notification does go out to the property owners, I think within 50 feet. And so I don't know if that is even something that we could do with state, I don't know, but that could be an option because that is a set process as well. Now, that doesn't mean if you're across the street and you're 200 feet, but that does give a little bit more leeway if you're within 50 feet of the project. So that could be something that we look into. I don't want to make a motion on that at all without researching it, but I'm in favor to table this item.
Member Stokel.
Yes. I also would say, just for clarification, we as a board are allowed the opportunity to give citizens more time. So if somebody, even though it's not here, if somebody did live across the street or requested more time with a majority vote here, we can do it. I also, as several people know, we will work with residents if they want to come together and do a presentation. I will say pretty confidently, since I've been serving up here, I feel like we've done our best to make sure that every citizen has had their opportunity to speak, whether they were an intervener, whether they were closely related, just so we could make a informed decision and especially make sure that citizens get heard. So regardless of this would, again, going back to, would give citizens more rights, and even so much, we still have that power and authority to grant citizens more speaking time if needed. So again, I have already sat down, so I feel comfortable, but it depends, I guess, on how the vote goes.
Vice Mayor.
I want to ask Member Moscoso, if we tabled it, we need to give our city attorney some direction on what we really want, because I've read it and I thought we were giving more rights to the citizens. That was my interpretation. I guess if we table it, what are we looking for, or what are we asking from the city attorney? Just a simple question.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're definitely giving more rights to the citizens. I do think this is a good thing. What I would like to know, and so perhaps, I don't know if you said you might not have the information, just the difference between adjacent, abutting, and then adversely impacted. I'm not sure if that's something that, I'm not sure what Member Nelson said, but something along those lines. And those three things, what that would look like. So that would be kind of my recommendation to our city attorney.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion by anybody, but if you're going to make a motion, please give them a time certain, and let me know if you want a consent or new business or old business. Probably old business at this point. Let's throw it on old business. Member Moscoso.
Sure, I'll make a motion to table until, I'm thinking, is it April 28th? That's our next meeting. And I think this could be on old business.
I think we need to add what we are asking her to do in the motion.
Okay. I'm asking just for the understanding of what the state statute says and if we can do adjacent, what that looks like, and if we can have information on that, if that is possible.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Member Moscoso, second from Vice Mayor Cole. Any further discussion from this board? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. City Manager.
Sir, moving on to item 9, ordinance's second reading. Indicated earlier, 9A has been withdrawn by staff. 9B is a rezoning, number 8-2025317 Oleander Place. And this item is a quasi-judicial item, and the city attorney will read the existing rules, and also Brad Parrish will read the ordinance for the record.
And I will be reading the shortened version of the quasi-judicial as proposed. During the public hearing portion of this meeting, anyone wishing to speak on a quasi-judicial item must complete and sign a speaker card along with the corresponding oath. The cards are located on the table in chambers. City staff will make the initial presentation, followed by the applicant's presentation, and then the hearing will be open for public comments. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if desired. Witnesses may be cross-examined, and all photographs, sketches, or documents for the hearing must be submitted to the city clerk and will be retained by the city. Members shall disclose any ex parte communications or site visits at this time, please.
Member Moscoso.
None.
Member Nelson.
None.
Vice Mayor Cole.
None.
Member Stokel.
None.
And I have none as well. Our pleasure. Mr. Parrish.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 5-1993 of the city of Titusville, Florida by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by changing the zoning district on property located at 317 Oleander Place from the Indian River City Neighborhood Commercial IRCNC zoning district to the Indian River City Neighborhood Residential IRCNR zoning district on .18 plus or minus acres of property having parcel ID number 22-35-22-03-10-5, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and providing for an effective date. The staff report begins on page 355 of your packet. This rezoning is a request by the property owner to change the property from the commercial to the residential zoning within the same Indian River City Neighborhood zoning district. Just to give you some background on this property and in the neighborhood, in 2012, there was a Indian River City neighborhood study or plan that was created and developed in conjunction with the community to help guide development in that area and to identify which particular land use and zoning districts that the neighborhood would wanted. In 2014, the Indian River City neighborhood zoning was placed on this property, including the entire neighborhood surrounding it. This property was originally community commercial zoned in the city, and so that's why it was carried over and rezoned into the commercial subdistrict of the Indian River City neighborhood. The property itself is very small. It is less than the minimum size for a single-family lot in the Indian River City neighborhood zoning district, and the width is also less than the minimum required. So it will become a non-conforming lot if it is rezoned. This is the second reading and final public hearing, so you would make an action on this tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. Does that conclude your report? Or do
The
you
only
have-
thing I wanted to mention was that we did review these, in the staff report, you'll see that we reviewed the request consistent with the rezoning criteria of the code. We found it consistent with the zoning criteria and with the comprehensive plan, and we recommend approval.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, are there any cards?
We have 2 cards. The first one is the applicant, Dwayne White.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Dwayne White. I bought it assuming it was a buildable lot, and I soon found out that it wasn't, and I would my built house, it is for profit, it ain't from a personal house, but I'm actually doing it with my stepson here. He's never done a project, and he actually works for me and another builder. We are partners with another builder, and this is his first project, and he'll get financial gain. He's an employee too, but I appreciate everybody's consideration. We're trying to build a new house in the city that's affordable. We try to do that, several houses in the 200 range, which is hard to find nowadays, houses in the 2s that are brand new in the city. We've done a few of them, but I know now to do my homework and check. I just assumed it was a down zoning, so it would be okay because there's houses on both sides of it, but that was my ignorance not doing my homework, and I should have known better because I do know that you got to check. I do check in the county when we do stuff in the county, which is the majority, but I would appreciate the consideration and the permission to put a single-family home on it.
Thank you very much, sir. Can I get to the other card?
I just have a question.
All right, Member Moscoso.
Sure. I confirmed this with the staff, but since it is such a small lot, and I know there's a lot of setbacks, they did inform me that you would most likely have to go through a variance, and I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Member Stokel.
That was my question.
All right. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
City Clerk.
The last card is Melinda Villan.
Melinda Villan, Historic Indian River City. I want to address the requirement that quasi-judicial decisions be based on competent, substantial evidence applied consistently to similarly situated properties. In this case, the staff report provides very clear reasoning for why this parcel should no longer be commercial. It lacks access to Hopkins. It relies on the local street and rear alley. Its size and configuration make commercial use impractical, and the neighborhood plan prioritizes protecting residential areas from encroachment. These are not unique conditions. Those same conditions exist on my street and in the surrounding area, particularly the reliance on alleys and local streets rather than Hopkins access. However, in those cases, commercial uses and impacts are being allowed to operate and extend, including the use of alleys in nearby residential areas for access, circulation, and support functions. This creates a material inconsistency. If the lack of Hopkins access, reliance on an alley, and lot size are sufficient grounds to conclude that a property is not appropriate for commercial use in this case, then those same facts should carry the same weight in other similarly situated locations. Otherwise, the city is applying its policies selectively, supporting residential protection in one instance while allowing commercial encroachment in another. That raises a legitimate question as to whether the decision before you is being applied in a uniform and legally consistent manner as required under your zoning code and Florida law. I am not opposing residential development here. I'm asking that the reasoning used in this case be applied consistently across the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, are there any other cards? Yes, sir. Member Stokel.
Yeah, question for Brad. So if we were to approve this and for some reason BAA denies a variance, what rights would the property owner have now having a rezoned property that we in effect are not allowing them to build on? What would happen?
Before going before the Board of Adjustment, in cases like this, the code does have a provision to deal with situations like this. So if the building official has the ability to approve a permit for a single-family residence on a lot that may be non-conforming, provided all other criteria are met. If in addition to that, the applicant still cannot meet some of the criteria, then they have to go through the variance. A variance decision is binding. The recourse beyond that is a suit. It doesn't go to city council.
Right. So then I guess would it revert back to the old zoning, so at least he could do something with it?
No,
Or
that-
now you were stuck with a piece of property that a board that we have no authority over potentially makes a decision, and so his only recourse would be to sue?
Right, I think
Okay.
that depends on what the request is. So if we estimated that based on the width of the lot and the size of the lot, that they could probably get about 2,500 square feet of a home on the property, which is pretty sizable. However, they'd have, if, based on the configuration of that property or or the house or what they're trying to do, they may need to get a variance. That's their recourse. It does, because let's say, for example, it's denied, it doesn't automatically get rezoned back. That's another
Right.
action before you.
Okay. And I think I just wanted those things stated so the applicant is aware of that and understanding that we don't even have full authority over to try to do something, whatever the BAA. Okay. Yes. So, okay, I just want to make sure that's all. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Member Moscoso.
Thank you. That's helpful to know. Do we know what percentage of the property the building will be? He just said it's 1,300 square feet. My concern is, Kevin, do we know if there's been any flooding in that area? I haven't heard of any. I just know that there have been cases where people have built homes on non-conforming lots, gotten all these variances, and it's caused flooding on their neighbors. And so I just wanted to confirm that it's not a 2,500 square foot house, if it's 1,300 square feet.
It's under air, so it is a little bigger.
Okay.
It's got a single car garage and a very small back porch. Literally big enough for a grill and a couple, it's like 6 foot.
But I imagine if you're doing it for affordable and 200,000, it's not going to be a giant house. Just want to make sure.
1,300 something under air, but still only like 18 total with the garage and everything.
Okay, thank you.
So the question before us is, when we look at this lot, whether this applicant gets his variance or not, should this lot be commercial or should it be residential? That is kind of what's before us. And looking at the map, it makes sense to be residential. I mean, and to Linda's point, there's a lot of goofy stuff in our code since 1963 when all three cities merged, and it's a hodgepodge, right? And I do believe, like, as a council, we should take proactive steps to fix our code and apply it uniformly, allow a little bit more flexibility where we can, and figure that out. But, you know, just looking at the pictures, it's pretty self-explanatory. Member Nelson.
I agree with you. To me, a residence is the only thing that makes sense there. So my motion would be to approve ordinance number 8-2026 for rezoning.
Motion by Member Nelson.
Second.
Oh, MPS, it doesn't apply.
All right. I have a motion by Member Nelson, a second by Vice Mayor Cole. Any further discussion from this board? Seeing none, City Clerk.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Connors?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cole?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Moscoso?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys being here. City Manager.
Sir, moving on to item 10, ordinance's first reading. 10A is the Certified Recovery Residence Ordinance. Again, it's the first reading, and Brad Parrish will read the ordinance for the record.
An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances to establish procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residents within the city consistent with Chapter 2025-182 Laws of Florida by creating Section 28-21 accommodations for certified recovery residents, for providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and an effective date. This is a first reading. P&Z did hear this, and they had several recommendations. We have not analyzed those recommendations. We'd like to bring that to you at your public hearing, which is on April 28th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. City Clerk. No cards on this. Any discussion from this board? Member Stokel?
Yes, I guess my question would be, because there's so many 11 items noted by P and Z, if we don't discuss them until the second hearing, would we then need to table it because a decision would need to be made, or should we discuss some of those items now so we can come back to that meeting with clarification? Because this is also staff time if you guys all start to look at all these and we don't necessarily agree with some of them. Like, when would you like to know that, I guess?
You could certainly ask me questions about the recommendations. I'll try my best to answer them, but I think I'll have a better answer on all of them for you with a memo that we'd like to provide to you at your
Okay.
hearing on the 28th. And you'll have several options, either to reject or not accept those conditions and just accept the ordinance as is, or incorporate some of their recommendations, which may or may not require it to be re-advertised.
Okay, because just some of them, like staffing levels and security, from what I know about these homes, they don't necessarily have staff or security. They're residents living there. So some of these just didn't make sense to me, and
We had several questions ourselves, yes. We
Okay.
believe some of these are probably going to be problematic or maybe not consistent with law, but that's what we need to evaluate.
okay, thank you. And I know the meeting happened last week, so you guys probably haven't had time to even do that yet. So, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? I know Mr. Parrish has been working on this for a long time. Technically, this ordinance was required to be in place by the first of this year. So we're a little bit behind the 8 ball and, need to get something on the books. And hopefully, Mr. Parrish can provide us some good guidance of what we can do and also cannot do in terms of amending what the state is telling us we have to do.
Let me just clarify. If there are, at your 28th meeting, you do identify, there may be a couple of things that we could consider making changes to, that would still require you, if we don't determine that it needs to be re-advertised, we can just continue it to a date certain and provide to you that change, if it's under the umbrella of not a significant change. But that obviously have to be, approved or reviewed by legal muster as to whether it's required to be re-advertised or not. But we'll know more at your 28th meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. City Manager.
Yes, sir. Moving on to item 10B, Trucks on Local Roads Ordinance. That is to conduct the first reading of ordinance number 10-2026. And again, Mr. Parrish will read the ordinance for the record.
An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances to regulate truck traffic in and on certain residential streets by creating Section 17-34, Restrictions on Truck Use of Streets, and amending Section 20-26, Powers and Duties of City Manager Relative to Traffic, and Development Review Procedures Technical Manual Sections 14.2, Pre-Application Meeting, 14.3, Concept Plan, 14.4, Application Procedures, and 14.5, Site Plan Required Exhibits, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. City Clerk.
Melinda Villain.
Melinda Villain, Historic Indian River City. I'm going to keep this focused on consistency since this is a quasi-judicial matter. The city is currently advancing a truck ordinance because it recognizes a problem, heavy truck traffic impacting residential streets, and the need to protect those streets from safety issues, noise, and damage. That is the city's stated direction. But that's not what's happening on Acorn Drive. Right now, Acorn is being used on a recurring basis for on-street loading and unloading by multiple box trucks and 48-foot freight trucks. This is not an occasional delivery activity. It is regular, repeated use of a residential street and alley as a loading area for nearby uses. And I've been told the city cannot restrict that because trucks are allowed to load and unload on public streets. So this creates a clear conflict. The city is saying, through its own ordinance, that these impacts are a problem that should be reduced. But in practice, those same impacts are being allowed to continue without limitation. There's also a gap in the current process. Right now, there's no requirement in site plan review to identify or accommodate long-term freight loading and unloading. Construction truck routes are required, but ongoing operational truck activity is not. So what happens is predictable. A use generates truck traffic. There's no requirement to handle it on site, and it gets pushed into the nearby public street, which in this case is a residential street, and it's treated as unavoidable. It is not unavoidable, it is unaddressed. In a quasi-judicial context, decisions are supposed to be consistent with the city's standards and its own stated policy direction. So the question is simple. How is it consistent to allow a use result on an ongoing heavy truck loading and unloading on a residential street while the city is actively moving to restrict those same exact impacts? Because right now, the city is identifying the problem in policy, but allowing it in practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, City Clerk.
The last card is Dan Johnston.
I'm addressing myself to you as an expert witness. And what I do is I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. The city of Titusville has gone haywire and nuts. I met with city manager and assistant city manager about Mockingbird Lane and the project SNJ Oaks, which I've invited all of you to attend. You've never done it, except for Mayor football player and Pastor Joe Richardson, Diesel. They went and visited with me. So what we have there is what the city approved. We're talking about trucks. Is that the city approved a sketch plat to be 8 feet wide for the road, 300 feet long, that it's serving 8 R3 projects, 8 feet wide. City fire truck is wider than 8 feet wide. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I can't believe it. So the sheet 4 of the plan shows it to be constructed, the asphalt, not asphalt, but the stabilized pavement to be the width of 8.000, there's 4 zeros, feet wide. That's a tolerance of about the thickness of a sheet of paper. 1/10,000th of a foot. So what I'm sharing with you is you've got a big problem what you're doing. That road now, which had a turnaround, has no turnaround. So it's changed a two-way Mockingbird Lane into a one-way street. Now you got, I don't know how you do, there's no way a truck can turn around except they back up 300 feet. So I'm just sharing with you is that this is relevant to truck traffic. You can't have it. I mean, it's nonsense what the city is doing. That includes Peggy Busaka and Brad Parrish. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. City Clerk, are there any other cards?
No, sir.
All right, Member Moscoso.
Thank you. I think this question might go to Sandy. Could you elaborate on that? Is Mockingbird Lane really an 8 foot wide and it's serving multifamily developments as stated? Maybe that's Kevin.
Mockingbird Lane is not a public road, and I don't know if there's any multifamily.
Maybe this is Brad. I'm sure you've reviewed the site plan. So is it an 8 foot road that is serving multifamily R3?
Like Sandra said, it's not a public road. I know that there is a private drive that was dedicated to certain property owners as part of the S&J Oaks plat. And I believe the pavement is about, or the area for that road, is, or the driveway rather, is supposed to be 10 feet wide, from what I recall on the site plan, but I'd have to verify.
So, I mean, if it's a private road, there still has to be, code and, there's standards that they have. Have we been checking that they are they are meeting those standards?
Yeah, we'll have to review. Yeah, any approved site plan has to be, whatever they construct out there has to be consistent with the site plan.
So that site plan that he's speaking on hasn't been approved yet?
It has been approved. I believe it is under construction. I would have to find out where we are as far as the site inspection, where they're finalized.
Could you, with the permission of the council, I'm sure just check and make sure that road is up to code and, 10 feet or whatever our code is requiring?
We can provide you answers on that project, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts and feedback at the topic at hand of trucks on local roads, ordinance? Any further direction that we want to provide to staff before we go into a public hearing next meeting? Seeing none, City Manager.
Sir, moving on, there's no old business. Item 11, under 12, new business, we have one item, 12A, which is the Brevard County Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant. And as you recall, back on the 24th of March, we had a presentation meeting regarding the subject from Brevard County Utilities Department, and now they are requesting a decision on whether the city would like to continue participating in this feasibility study as a stakeholder. And we have a representative from the county to answer any questions.
How you doing, sir?
Good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I don't really have any questions. I know that it's important that we plan ahead, and I think having continued dialogue with our county partners to see what we can do down the road. I don't believe that, nobody's asking for any money, just asking for us to participate and share ideas and insights, and hopefully we can find a good plan to address our growing concern of wastewater down the road. Member Moscoso.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. For participation, is that, so it's going to be with Brevard County, Titusville. Who else is involved in that?
We're Space Florida and also the Air Force.
And are those meetings open to the public? Or say I was curious and just wanted to sit in, is that possible?
Some of the meetings are held on federal property where we have to get clearance. So no, it's very, the meetings are really conceptual, technical. But to be honest, I haven't had that question asked, so I'd have to verify.
Okay, and then who, and this might be for our city manager, who from our staff is expecting to be there?
I believe Sandy is volunteered.
Okay, and would it be possible for her, thank you, Sandy, send yourself an email, remind yourself. Would it be possible for Sandy, for you to, if it's the information's available, for her to kind of advise council on what is going on so that we have a heads up as well?
Yeah, I think there's, and I get this question also asked from our commission. There are going to be milestones where updates will be done. I'm reluctant to update on every single meeting just because there's ideas shared and those ideas are being formulated. So they're, again, I'm not here to say no. I'm saying from my experience, we will, and I promise we'll keep Titusville in the loop on all the meetings and invite them as such. But to share it in a public forum where the ideas can change sometimes can cause confusion with the public. So are we going to be doing updates? Absolutely. Do we want to share it with not only our commission, but you all as a partner in this study? Absolutely.
Thank you. And because I think what, there's going to be real effects depending on location and if we are part of this, let's say this new treatment facility, meaning the cost for our residents could go up. We don't know what any of that looks like. And so I just want to make sure that if Sandy's there, that, we are at least knowledgeable in what's moving forward. And I imagine nothing would go forward without it coming before our council as well.
Yeah, nothing can get done at our pay level. We definitely need your approval. So even if we wait till the end, you're still going to get final decision.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I think that's the important part of being as a key stakeholder in this is so that we can have that dialogue, so we can stay up to date on what's going on because, obviously this is not only going to affect our residents, but our economy. And, there's a lot of folks that live outside our city limits here in Titusville that, depend on us quite a bit. So even if they're not our residents, we're all kind of in this together, especially when it comes to wastewater. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for us to participate.
We have cards.
Oh, I apologize. City Clerk.
Michael Myjack.
I just want to say that I support this project. I think the idea of working together and cooperating is going to be key. One of the biggest problems we have out at the Space Center is there's no zoning, there's no land use management. So water recycling is going to be one of the few levers that we're going to have trying to control what happens out here. So when you think about it in that sense, what we're carrying when we take black water out of the Space Center is we're actually carrying water away. And we're going to end up with reclaimed water as a result of that treatment. The question is, what are we going to continue to do with that? As we grow, as we're seeing, we're running out of raw water resources. We have to start looking at that treated water as a way of recovering water, because it is a raw water resource. We may not have cleaned it enough to the point where it's potable, but I'll tell you, it makes damn good superficial aquifer recharge water. So think about the participation, our participation in this. We need it, the region needs it, and anything that we can do to get these plants away from the lagoon is a good thing. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, City Clerk.
Stan Johnston.
My name is Stan Johnston, and I'm going to do the same thing because I'm announcing myself as an expert witness on this. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. So this goes back to education that I'm going to, and this has to do with also what we've discussed about 8B, and that is stakeholders. Who's a stakeholder? Who can say anything? Who has allowed to do it? Now, here's what I learned from my professor in college in engineering ethics. This is a big deal. In fact, my professor is the top official. In other words, he was the president of American Society of Civil Engineers. Big deal. He was my teacher. So here's what he taught us. He said that engineers are responsible for what they know, for what they see. That's a big deal. So what happens is, let's suppose you're driving by a construction site and you see obvious error that the crane is not where it's supposed to be, and something should happen before an accident happens. The same thing. If you see the rebars are wrong when they're being constructed and filled with concrete, you should speak up because you're liable, according to my professional engineer instructor. That has to do with this here also. The question is, am I a stakeholder? I'm not adjacent to this project, but I'm a professional engineer. So my comments here involve who is a stakeholder. Am I allowed to be a stakeholder as an expert witness? So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. City Clerk, any other cards?
Yes, sir. The last card is Keith Edwards.
So I'm really glad that we are actually looking into this situation. But from the last meeting that we talked about this, we're still in a feasible study. They won't know nothing about how much it's going to cost or where it's going to go until the middle of December, roughly. But the fact of the matter is, we're looking at it now. They want to put a pipeline, from my understanding, and pump their sewer over here to us, for us to have a treatment plant over here. My question is, they've ran off residential homes out there to build the Space Center, so why don't we put the sewer treatment plant out there and pump our effluent water over to them? Now, if we do that, what are they going to do with it? Well, they have to have water suppression for all these rockets, right? Heat, water, it's sanitized. Therefore, we're alleviating losing our property and our grounds out here, solving a problem there, because right now we're in trouble with our potable water. I mean, right now we don't have enough, we're conserving, our underground aquifer's tight. So why are we bringing sewer this way? If they've got heat, they've got the flames from the rockets, they can sanitize that effluent water. I think, if we're looking into it, we might have better options than polluting our Indian River, our St. Johns River. So let's keep our minds open. You know, I tell my employees, I might be the big boss man, but I don't know everything. I'll listen to your opinion, and if I like it, okay. A lot of times, these greenhorns that have no clue of what they're talking about will come up with a better idea, a better game plan, and make me more money. Therefore, they get a little bit more money too. So let's keep our hats on and keep our pencils sharp. Let's work together. I agree with that. But putting that thing over here, I like the better idea of it going that way. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, any other cards? All right. Member Nelson, did you make a motion?
I move to authorize our continued participation in the study for the Brevard County Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Nelson, second by Vice Mayor Cole. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. All right, now we're on petitions and requests from the public, non-agenda items. You've already done petitions and requests. You've already done it once.
I'd like to request a forensic audit. I'd like to actually know what's going on. First off, when our council members, the boss men and ladies of the city of Titusville, has to pay for a document, that stuff should be easy to obtain. Second, if our county manager is going to try to slide one in on an audit by giving our council member 1 page out of 200 and some odd pages, something's funny. The citizens of Titusville have lost complete trust in you, from our election to flushing our toilets. So I would like to make a request that there is a forensic audit, and anybody involved in covering up these thefts, and I'm talking about even the copper too, that we acknowledge it, we put them down, we have them arrested, we let them pay their time, because this one lawnmower, that ain't gonna hunt. And I'd like to know if you found my new F-250 2025 Ford pickup truck, or that 2026 backhoe. I sure could use them. I got an old beat up truck and I've been band-aiding my tractor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no more, moving on to mayor and council reports. Member Scosa, why don't you kick us off? Member Nelson?
Well, I sort of hate to bring this up, but I said something wrong the other day, and Ms. Baker said something wrong. And I think what it made me realize is that sometimes we look at social media and we think that's the news. You know, we don't need to look at the news. Look at social media. We don't need to check facts. Look at social media. It tells you A, B, C, and we believe it. And so I looked up an arrest report on Mr. Johnson. And Ms. Baker had indicated that poor Mr. Johnson was testing water and got arrested for trespass. That wasn't what I remembered, but I thought, okay, go to the clerk's website, you can pull it up. It's very easy. Type in a name, type in a date range, and it's there. So I would encourage everybody to do that because it doesn't indicate that he was testing water quality. He was told not to be on a construction site. It indicates that he called the police and told them, come arrest me. I'm going to the construction site. and they did. The case in the end was no prost. I was wrong. I read it wrong. As an old prosecutor, I am assuming, and I haven't talked to the prosecutor that handled the case, but a lot of times the witness fee is $5, or it was when I was there. So as a business owner, I'm sure you understand that sending 4 or 5 of your employees to court for the day for $20 doesn't get the work done. And this was I think they're out of county. And I believe they actually went bankrupt. So they may not have even been around. So the case was no prost. So I was wrong by not reading it correctly. And I would say, anytime these things come up, look it up. I think it behooves us to pay attention and to check our facts. Instead of just putting them out there. And I think we need to be careful with social media because it isn't the news. And a lot of times it's opinions. One person says, A happened, this is what's happening. And I think we saw that with Royal Oak. We need to go to the council meeting because council is going to do this. And everybody panics and they're all here, which is fine. Don't mind it. But it just tells me that we're looking at social media as the news. So that's my cautionary tale.
Thank you, Member Nelson. Vice Mayor Cole? Yes. Member Stokel?
Yes, 2 things. One, I put at your place, our guest speaker last night from the Space Coast League of Cities was Dr. Dwayne DeFries with he's the executive director for the Indian River Lagoon. It has the executive summary and the annual report. Typically, our speakers are about 20 minutes. We were 40 minutes deep into the presentation. You can tell he's very passionate about it. One thing that stood out to me, though, that I think is very telling, I think it's easy we're doing this day in and day out, and we know there's still so much work to do. But I appreciated how he started with, imagine if we had that Artemis launch here with all those people here at the same time as a fish kill that we remember from years ago. And I was like, oh, that's right. We used to have those. Yeah. And so I think that speaks to the progress that we're making. That didn't even cross my mind that could happen. And if that was the reputation and the impact that we left on tourists coming to our area. So in the report, it talks a lot about some of the positive things we're doing. I think that we all know there's still always more work to be done. And then he also talked a lot about, ensuring that we are protecting our environment. And when he talked about, when you're covering up wetlands, keep in mind that water does have to go somewhere. So it was really informative presentation. So that's one thing. And then 2, as our retreat is coming up next month, I would encourage us to just start thinking about things that might help us during that retreat. So as citizens speak, as I start seeing things, I think what would make and I don't even know the exact format of the retreat yet, and maybe we can discuss this and finalize it at our next meeting in April. But some things that I would like to know that would help me at that retreat is knowing how much a forensic audit would cost. And what's the scope of that? So would it cost X amount of dollars if we do one department versus all departments? What does that look like? How much would it potentially cost to bring in an outside consultant, just a third-party person to kind of go, and I've seen those happen elsewhere. And I did talk to the city manager about this. At that point in time, we should have a rough preliminary budget. So I think as we're hearing comments from citizens saying, please don't raise our taxes, but also please make stormwater improvements, like looking at that and what are the budget priorities and giving us information as, hey, this is what it looks like right now. If you want to go to rollback, if you want to invest more in infrastructure, you might have to raise taxes. So we can have, I think, a nice conversation regarding that. And then I guess, at our next meeting, maybe we can discuss if you guys think of something over the next 2 weeks of something that might be helpful for you to have as we go into that retreat. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it will be productive conversation. That's all I have.
Thank you, Member Stokel, and I completely agree that we should have a working budget at least to have those conversations, because, it seems like going through my first budget cycle last year, it was kind of felt last minute, and then you're kind of stuck either approving it or, from the dais here without even having, you just have 50,000-foot view of what these numbers actually are for. So having that additional time to go over it, I think would make a lot of sense. Vice Mayor Cole.
I passed the first time, but I had forgotten. I wanted to give kudos to Public Works. We had a 6-inch water line break on Oak Hill or Murfield. And when I went out there, I went out and I was looking for one of the workers, and the reason I couldn't see him because he was in the hole, and the hole was deeper than he was tall. They worked out there all day and into the night. What had happened is a tree root had found its way into, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but a tree root had found its way into a 6-inch line. It hit the 6-inch line, and somehow the water got into the reclaimed water line, stormwater line, and it got onto Lacita's golf course and flooded 2 of the ponds on Lacita and flooded. And at first they thought they had a stopped up line that would pump the water out. But Public Works came in, they found it, and they worked on it into the night to get it repaired. There were 35 homes, I think, that were affected by it, that had their water off, and then they had a ball water notice. But just kudos to those guys that were out there working their butts off. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Cole. And for my report, I hear a lot from citizens when a new building is built. Why are they not using an old building? And I think about that a lot, especially as I drive around town. Why do I drive down 50, US 1, Garden Street, and you see the same commercial for sale signs on the same lots? And I got to thinking about what could I do with that property if I bought it? Thinking like a business owner. And I came to the conclusion of not much. Because once that property is not in use for 6 months, it becomes non-conforming, and there's really no gray area in the code. And so therefore you have these smaller lots that were cut out probably in the 1950s that can't handle our new laws of stormwater or parking or any of these other things. And so I think we as a council, as we look through our code, need to develop ways to incentivize that commercial growth throughout our community. And one of the ways that I had thought of, and I had conversations with Mr. Parrish, and I'll ask him to speak on this a little bit, is stormwater doesn't care what zoning district it's in. It does not. And in our current code, the stormwater plan has to stay within the same zoning district. So if you bought a lot along US 1 and it was commercially zoned and wanted to build a restaurant or a little shop, you wouldn't have any room for stormwater. But what if you bought the lot behind it? Let's say it's residential. Now you don't have to scare the neighbors and try to rezone that lot to a commercial lot because it shouldn't be commercial, but just incorporate it into the stormwater plan. Because at the end of the day, stormwater doesn't care what zoning district it's in, but it's about giving economic development an opportunity to happen in some of our smaller parcel areas throughout the city. And Mr. Parrish, can you elaborate a little bit?
I did look at the code to see what provisions are available. We do have something called a passive commercial use. It's currently in the code. It's very limited, though. It is allowed for a stormwater system as part of a commercial development that can be located on a multifamily zoning only. And right now, that would require a conditional use permit for that stormwater pond. Another example is, or another location where that could be approved is in the Indian River City neighborhood, actually. So if you have a commercial development in the sub-district as commercial, but you need a place to put stormwater and you can't be on the same property, if you have the ability to do it, you can use a property that's in the residential sub-district. In both cases, there are conditions that you would have to meet, standards you'd have to adhere to. But that's a limitation. I think what you were discussing with me was something much more broad. So that's something, if that's the council wants us to look into, we could certainly do that if we want to expand this in more areas. But that's the option that we currently have in the code now.
So I look at things as how do we get from A to Z? And I'm looking at root cause analysis. And a part of that and thinking this through, I got to thinking, what is preventing this commercial redevelopment? And so that was kind of a sticking point where I thought we were hindering the free market. Maybe an opportunity as a solution, not just complaining about it, but okay, maybe there's a solution to incentivize the redevelopment of some of these older parcels on our commercial corridors without affecting the neighbors. That is the most important, because the neighbors going through a rezoning and then it being commercial right next to their house and then them have to worry about it developing into something in the future, we don't want that. We just want that commercial development to be able to happen because unfortunately we as government can't make parcel sizes any bigger. So that's kind of my thoughts. I figured I'd just turn it over to you guys and see if you guys thought that'd be worth an idea worth exploring as we kind of continue to chip away at our code. Member Moscoso.
Can I ask, do you have a, like an example of a property that you're thinking about? I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around this.
Yeah, I don't have any particular properties, but I mean, as you drive up and down our commercial corridors, you see the same commercial for sale signs on every single property year after year after year. And I got to thinking, why is it this way? You know, we're supposed to have all this demand, but I'm not seeing it.
And you're saying that you think the issue is that there's nowhere for that stormwater to go?
Well, I think it's parcel size, but if we can be a little bit more accommodating with allowing stormwater to flow outside of a zoning district if they own the property, I think without having to rezone that other property, that should be, you know, looked at as allowable. Member Nelson.
I'm sort of thinking, and I know Brad probably doesn't have the time, but at some point, going through the code and seeing what changes we can make to make it easier to develop commercial. And not just that, just everything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. These are just
Yeah.
things that I pick off in my spare time. So
You have too much spare time.
You know, just opportunities.
I don't think Brad is going to have that much spare time. But I think at some point, as we go along and hopefully Brad gets more spare time, it might be something that was worth looking at in terms of what can we do with our code to make it easier to develop commercial property.
If I may, I give you examples. We routinely field calls about what we can, someone can and can't do on their property, commercial properties. I'll give you one example that I recall vividly from a few years ago. There's a property on Garden Street. It's very small. As you know, this area of Garden Street, especially around the railroad tracks, is the core area of the city. It's an old area of the city. It was subdivided, platted many years ago prior to even stormwater requirements. So over time, someone may have purchased a piece of property and then they subdivide it even further. And so there was one particular case where there is a office on a piece of property that I guess used to be a single-family home at one point, but it's an office now facing Garden Street. I imagine that over time, the street was widened, probably took up some of the property as well. So what you have left is a really small piece of property. And someone called me, a real estate agent called me and asked, what can they do? Can they put it into a restaurant? And I went through the zoning allows it, but the property itself probably can't fit it. Even though it's built, it probably doesn't necessarily have to put in the stormwater system, but just the fact that the uses could be in that building is going to be very physically constrained because there's not enough parking on the site itself. No way you can add more parking on it to serve that kind of retail use. So it's probably only going to be limited only to an office use. As we know, office uses aren't very, a lot of them are being vacant right now. They're not being utilized. So what can someone do with that property? Well, they could certainly redevelop it, maybe purchase it, combine it with other pieces of property. There are many ways this can happen, but there are no easy answers on those in those situations. So as the mayor is suggesting, this could be one thing that could help certain properties, maybe not the particular one example that I brought up, but we'll certainly look we do have advisabilities or directions from you from the past for us to continue to look at ways, things in the code that we would like to bring to you as ideas to make things easier. And we will certainly do that.
Okay. Thank you. So you don't need advisability for this?
I mean, I don't,
Shaking his head.
I have that in the past already. I mean, I'll certainly bring up ideas of ordinances to change the code to make things easier if we believe it's not, they can make a difference. We do, I'll give one right now we're working on specifically. It has to do with allowing residential in office professional zoning, which I think I can't remember exactly, but I think in some cases, or live-work units.
Okay.
Which is a use that's not specifically allowed in that zoning district. It has to be one or the other. So now we are going to propose to you an ordinance to allow a mixture of those uses. Someone can actually live above the business that they're working in that zoning district.
Okay.
Whereas right now they're limited to only commercial. So an example I just gave you, that piece of property, why couldn't they add a residential unit to it if it's got the right zoning? So those kind of examples we'd like to bring to you, but that's just one.
Okay. Thank you.
As well, Mr. Parrish kind of has a blanket, look at everything. I don't feel good telling Brad, like, hey, look at this. I want to bring it before you guys and have conversation before, Brad and his team start diving into anything. Member Stokel.
Yes, and that was going to be my suggestion, is this is a great idea, I think, for the retreat, again, of, hey, this is advisability that I thought of, and then somebody else might have another advisability, and then us as council can start to rank those. What's most important to us? Because as you're mentioning that, I'm already thinking it would be nice, although this would be staff time, to go through each of our blighted areas and then properties that have been for sale for a while and see, can what used to be there even be developed now, or have there been additional requirements? And again, we don't know what we don't know. So I think that would be helpful. And then it made me think of a message I got from a resident. I want to buy a commercial property on Garden Street, but they're saying it will have to be rezoned for a different kind of commercial property. So it's those kinds of questions, and they're trying. So as we get to know those things, is there some potential red tape that we can try to alleviate to allow people to grow and open businesses? So I'm in favor of it. Again, I think that it's important for us to get on the same page and give clear priority lists to our limited staff.
Vice Mayor.
I totally agree, but I'm thinking we ought to be able to make it easier than using staff time, and this is directed toward the county manager. The kinds of things, sorry about that. City manager, sorry, we're not in the county, okay? All right. Interns, okay. But can we get IT to look in to see if there are any kind of AI programs that can assist us in doing these tasks? Because AI is, I use it a lot, and it really is fantastic. And I know you are in the process of getting an AI program to help with the reviewing and the planning sections. But I'm sure that there are some programs out there that can assist us with some of the mundane tasks, such as that Councilwoman Nelson brought up. So I would like for that to be also a task that we look at to see if we can, are there any AI programs out there that we can look at that maybe we can talk to other cities too and see if they're using any programs that can assist us. And, it definitely would be cheaper than using staff time for it. That's just a suggestion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, we did add it to one of our core goals, is using technology to improve government operations and efficiencies this year. So those should all be things that the city manager should be already looking at. But I appreciate you guys having the discussion. If anything, I can generate some good conversation about ideas and how do we fix root causes that were started long, long ago. But with that being said, that concludes my report. City manager, your report.
Yes, sir. I have 2 info items on the city manager report. The first is the update to the management response to the city audit recommendations of March 12th, 2026. And in that update, I go through various actions we have taken or in the process of taking to address the recommendations. There's also going to be an amendment from the city auditor in the future, updating some of the findings. But if council desires, I can go through my update if so desired.
Member Nelson.
Please.
Well, some of the actions we've already taken, we've instituted a fraud hotline and an email hotline. And although I thought it would be going live May 1st, we actually got ahead of ourselves. We've actually put it out there, and we are it's a work in progress, but we are benchmarking off another city that has a similar fraud hotline, and that should help us in tracking any allegations of misuse or fraud or waste. We immediately went ahead and put restrictions on our P-card single transaction limits to $2,500, and on a case-by-case basis, city manager has authority to raise that for just a single transaction to $5,000. We're also looking to limit the number of P-cards that we have issued, and also we maintain a master list of all the P-cards, and of course, P-cards transactions require documentation to prove their truthfulness. We have filled the asset management position, and it's an employee who has previously served in the Brevard County's Asset Management Division, and this person has a master's degree in public administration, has extensive experience in the physical asset management realm, and she's already hit the ground running, and she's doing a fantastic job, and you'll be hearing of some of her accomplishments in the near future, I'm sure. We're still looking to replace the water resources supervisor position, and the city auditor and the police have collaborated on a process going forward to investigate allegations to ensure there's no redundancy or conflict in their investigations. For example, the city audit uncovered some deficiencies and irregularities that as soon as, sort of peeling back the layers of an onion, we determined that at one point that a couple days after the initial findings that it required criminal prosecution. And right now, the state attorney has accepted the case, and it's scheduled for a hearing on April 28th. And we've provided an exhaustive list of all the items that were found to be misappropriated, and we're seeking full restitution, and we'll report back on any success, if any. We've gone ahead and eliminated all the personal property that was stored at the field operations site. That was a finding of the audit, that an employee was keeping their own personal recreational craft and other personal belongings, and all the employees have been counseled and required to sign a document indicating that they understood the admin policy does not allow for any personal property to be stored on city property, and everything was removed. We're also in the process of coordinating with Carr Riggs and Ingham, which is a third-party external auditor, not the one that does our audit, a third party, and they are developing a training program for us regarding ethics and waste and fraud. That's going to be a requirement for onboarding, and also will be required of all employees for periodic training. And again, this will also be documented in everyone's personnel records to ensure people understand the regulations regarding waste, fraud, abuse, and misappropriation of city property. And also, we're looking at the feasibility of a audit follow-up. We've developed 4 different scopes of work, ranging from a smaller audit of, let's say, a small program like our recycling program for scrap metal, which generates $10,000 to $15,000 a year. An audit of that magnitude for several years, looking back, would cost $50,000, where an entire city audit, looking back 5 or 10 years, would cost upwards of $1 million. So we're looking at that, and we'll be coming back with some information. There's a couple of cities that have looked into that and decided that that was a high hurdle, and other cities have taken on that. And we'll bring back some information on that. And that concludes my audit update.
Member Nelson.
Tom, were there any other suggestions by the auditor? Any other recommendations?
I don't believe offhand. I think I've covered all of those.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Member Stokel.
Yes, a question about the P card limits for the single transaction. Is that across the board? So if anybody has a P card, they automatically will have that limit, or can you guys set different limits for certain people?
There are different limits, but
Okay,
usually department heads have a higher limit,
okay,
but now we've reduced everything down. There was some that had $5,000 or
Okay.
even $10,000 limits, and they're all reduced down to $2,500, unless by case that I would approve for a single transaction a higher limit.
okay. And then what about a monthly limit? Do you know what that is? And I would venture to say it probably varies depending on who
Yeah,
it is.
it all depends on the operations. You know, obviously Public Works buys more equipment and they have a higher monthly threshold, but that's monitored by the department heads.
Okay. And then, because I kind of would defer to probably the internal auditor on if we should potentially lower it for others that maybe are just buying office supplies. Do they need a $2,500 single transaction limit? And then lastly, do we have a threshold if something is over $1,000, for instance, that it can automatically get tagged, or can we implement something like that?
I don't know if we have an automatic flag for that,
Okay,
but that's something that the department heads normally, you know, every month you get, each department head or each approving authority gets a listing of everyone's P card usage, and the department head or supervisor has to approve that, and that approval includes the documentation and receipts and where the item was purchased and how much it was for, so you get an idea. And each employee has a single line item. You'll see all of their transactions for that month, so you'll be able to determine, you know, who's spending X amount of
yeah.
money.
It just might help, I'm thinking too, especially with the asset manager, if something's getting purchased, like an iPad or something, you know, in a department and it triggers, it's over $1,000, maybe that's triggering a department head that, hey, that's something over 1,000, we need to tag it. And then annually, and I say this because I know other organizations do it, annually there's either IT or somebody that goes around and scans and like has a log of it. And because I think that we keep hearing, you know, there was $1 million found, you know, of waste. And I don't think that's accurate. I think there's probably $1 million that we can't account for because we didn't tag items. So that
And
we still
that
might have them, or they retired them, but because we never tagged them, now we can't account for them. And I would like to prevent that happening in the future, you know, 50 years down from the road, where people are like, oh, these items, we can't account for them, and they weren't stolen, we just never logged them, and we didn't keep track of them, we didn't dispose of them properly. That's my own personal of what I would like to see, just for greater accountability.
Right, and we are updating our asset management software system,
Okay.
which would help us track that. And
Okay.
you're right, over a 50-year period, that number was thrown out, and it's a little bit inaccurate. We'll be coming back with some updates.
Yeah.
But, you know, part of it is you have to track the items once you procure them, especially those items which are highly preferable or like IT or laptops, et cetera, or consumables.
Right.
So we'll
Okay.
get a better handle on that.
Thank you.
Member Moscoso.
Thank you. I know that we have over 170 P cards here in the city. I'm even confused why I have a P card. I am not sure about that, and so I think that is something that we'll probably look into as well. I mean, the more, well, so so that was one question, is looking at, I mean, the more P cards that are out there, I think obviously the more opportunities there are. So also, I am confused about how there was personal property at, I'm not sure what site it was, and how we didn't notice that, because that one's a very visual one. Did the employees assume that they could do that? Was that what happened, or?
It was noticed. It was the field ops supervisor. He was in charge of that facility, and he kept his recreational boat there, and we determined that it's inappropriate there. It took a while, but we got rid of it.
And nobody had reported that before?
Well, I'm not sure. It probably was reported, but he was storing it. He was told to move it. He did not. And
Okay. And then,
has been removed.
okay, and then when do you think that we'll have the prices and the different options for the forensic audit? Just because once we get that, I'd love to have a chance to sit down with the internal auditor and just see her thoughts as well. So I know that it would probably be put on an agenda, but just so that we have enough time to possibly schedule an appointment with her to discuss
As soon as I
that.
get that information, I'll get it out to council.
Okay.
Please, sir. All right. City manager, anything else to report?
Yes, sir. We also provided the scope of work for the stormwater master plan, which was directed by council. We have an estimate of approximately $750,000 for this study. At the April 28th meeting, we will be, which is our mid-year review, budget review, we will be having an agenda item requesting council act on awarding that contract so we can get a notice to proceed and get that process rolling so that we can address all the issues that were uncovered during the October rain event. And we have a lot of work to do to update our stormwater master plan.
Thank you, city manager. City attorney, your report.
Okay, briefly, City Attorney's Office has been pretty busy. As indicated in the report, the City Attorney's Office, on behalf of the city, initiated several lawsuits, small claims lawsuit regarding, as to damages caused to our water infrastructure. We went after the defendant Blue Streak, which is a subcontractor of AT&T, because they had caused over a few years damages to our water infrastructure. We filed the small claims. The first case was settled for the full amount of $3,800. We have since filed 3 other claims, and the Blue Streak, they've reached out to us wanting to initiate settlement of those, which will accumulate to over close to $14,000. So we're pretty happy about that. The second item, we've got 3 new lawsuits served on the city. 2 of the lawsuits are residents suing the city separately regarding stormwater damage issues. The third lawsuit is Royal Oaks LLC filing suit from the recent council's decision denying the transmittal to the proposed amendment plan. All lawsuits, the small claims mentioned earlier, as well as the 3 new lawsuits, will be litigated in-house by the city attorney's office. The third follow-up item is the city received, as council is full aware and had concerns about, received numerous complaints regarding the ready-mix plants, releasing dust in the environment, and the city waters management system. Our office sent a letter to of the city's intent, which I think I reported a few months ago, to bring legal action. And as a result, the state got involved, which we had sent the letter and copied the state per the statute's requirement that we intend to pursue legal remedies. As a result, we believe the state initiated an inspection on CMEX and resulting into a warning letter threatening that their permit may be revoked because of the violation and that they're going to be monitoring these. So again, we believe that, our office has made traction on several issues that's been brought before to our attention by council, and we just wanted to follow up with a report on that. Thanks.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you and David are doing. You guys are knocking out of the park, getting money back to the city, and obviously working hard to enforce our code, which I think is important, because why have it if we can't enforce it, and making sure that we're protecting our residents. So thank you very much. Member Nelson.
And I just want to be transparent with you guys. One of the people filing suit is my cousin, Leslie. So I will stay away from the city attorney and Leslie.
Thank you very much. Nothing else to report, city attorney. Seeing no other lights at this time, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.